Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Con Report wherever you get your podcasts. You watch it on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. Also, for you gold members, another private Zoom, 7:30 Eastern time on Thursday night. Look for the link on Thursday and join me there. Bring your questions. Those of you who joined me for the Santana Moss chat I felt like it was really good and informative. And those who didn't, I think you missed out. So on an opportunity to talk to a guy who had been here for a while, and we'll do more of those with various guys throughout the season. So, but I'll be doing them every week, and you can find out what's going on in the locker room, any questions you have, whatever. Bring them. Let's go. Let's chat. 7:30 Eastern time on Thursday. If you want to become a member, go to the Empire Media YouTube page, see the word join, click on that. Find the gold level membership, and then you can join these private Zoom chats. The rest of you get the whole stuff after the fact. So anyways, join me there. So today I'm going to do, by the way, on Friday, I think I told you it was going to be on Thursday, but on Friday, I'm going to be joined by ESPN's Jordan Raanan talking about the New York Giants in the stepchild bowl, I kind of call it, because the Giants and the Commanders / Redskins have been the stepchildren of the NFC East for a little while. But there's a big difference between the direction of these two franchises. And we get into that. And I talked to Jordan about the perception of the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and then the roster. He talks about Washington's roster. It's an outside perspective on what somebody from the outside thinks of this place. Anyways, join me for that on Friday. And then on Saturday, I'll do the 5 things I think again, and just leading into the game, things that I learned throughout the week, trying to provide insight into the Commanders, not only what's going on in the locker room with some players, but also, of course, about whatever the upcoming game is. So join me for that on Saturday. Now, let's get to it today. So today, a couple things. I met with Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn today, and then we get some injury updates, and you go in the locker room for about 45 minutes, etc. So today from Dan Quinn, a couple of injury things to update you on. Johnny Newton did not practice today. He did have, Quinn said he did a lot of conditioning on Tuesday, so they wanted to kind of sit him down today. They will have him practice tomorrow, and then probably, I'm guessing, on Friday, do a little similar to what they did last time. But we'll see. I think it's going to really be based on how he responds to Thursday's work, and then to determine what might be the case maybe for Sunday. To be honest, my read on it would be it still seems like it'd be a difficult thing for him to do to play on Sunday, given that you ramp him up one day and you sit him down the next. Like, it's not, I know they're trying to get him ready, but it seems like it might be, I just wonder if he was able to play, how much could he really play? I think that's the key. It's not just could he go in there and play a few snaps, but can you be part of a rotation? Because they did not play. John Allen and Deron Payne only played around 60% of the snaps. It's a lot less than they have been playing. Now, some of that was the Tampa heat and the humidity. But if you want to keep these guys fresh all year, and Quinn seems to be very big on keeping the veterans fresh, then you need to have that rotation. And if Johnny Newton can't be a part of that rotation, they're going to probably stick with Sheldon Day, someone like that. Day did not have the greatest debut. And listen, it was not his fault that he didn't. My point is they could use a guy like Newton when he's healthy to go in there and play. Brandon Coleman, he's still, he played like 14 snaps. They're still building him up to become the eventual starter. Right now, I'd still say Cornelius Lucas was working with the first group in the drills. That's always a tip-off. So I think you could still maybe expect to see more of Cornelius at left tackle while incorporating Coleman. Coleman did a nice job. Like, the other thing is, one thing I like about Coleman, the dude blocks to the whistle and he plays to the finish. And you saw that in a couple of runs where he stays after his guy. Like, I think you're going to like him when he's in there and playing full time, whenever that is. And then the question will be, eventually, like, if Wiley doesn't improve at right tackle, do you then maybe put one of those two guys on the right side? That's a ways down the road. Wiley's got to play better before we get to that, but that is a discussion that if it doesn't improve there, I don't see how you don't have that. But those are the two big injuries. Oh, and Emmanuel Forbes had a splint on one of his thumbs. That was what he was in the X-ray machine for. I did ask Quinn today, was him coming out of the game Sunday, because he came out twice, was that injury related or performance related. And he really didn't answer that. He did say that they want us, they're sticking by him. You have no choice. And some people ask me, like, why not Mike Davis? Mike Davis did not have that kind of summer where you say, like, you got to get him in there. In fact, when he did go in even the preseason games, just okay at best. So the guy that they want to try and get, the guy who has a skill set, is Forbes. And so while you watched them all last year, they're still new, working with him and teaching him, trying to get him to play what they need him to play. So, they're going to be more patient with him. The problem for Forbes is the superpower is taking the ball away. And he's done picked one since he's been in the NFL. That has to become a bigger part of his game, but it's got to start with playing the right technique. So while you may be tired of this staff is now new working with him. And if they see something in him that can help, then they're going to stick with it. And also, again, watching practice all summer and watching the preseason games, Mike Davis did not really push him out of that. That's why Noah Igbenogany went in instead as the third corner. It was him and then Sam Still and then Benjamin St. Juste. It's not the biggest corner group. Like Sam Still is a smaller guy. Like he's really not much taller than I am. And so, he's a small guy. So that's why he's good in the slot. It's hard to put someone like that outside. I know Darrell Green had world-class speed as well, and just quickness as well. Different dude. Darrell wasn't just a small guy. He's a Hall of Fame corner. So just because Darrell did it doesn't mean that Sam still can do it too, even though they say he can. My point is, I think he's going to be best inside still eventually. So anyways, they're sticking by Forbes. Noah Brown. So Quinn was asked about Noah Brown as well. Could this be a week that he gets up there? And part of the reason it sounds like that he wasn't active on Sunday was just because he just got here and learning the offense. And I was talking to Brown in the locker room after Quinn spoke, and he talked about, really it's about getting used to the terminology. That's what he's still doing. I don't think it's at a point where it's going to take that much longer for him to feel right. I think he feels like he's pretty close to being ready. And Quinn said it's trending in that direction. The question I would have is, would they keep six active? Well, this team last year would keep six active a decent number of times. So yes, you can keep six active. Now, we'll have to see how the rest of it plays out the roster. But if you wanted to keep six active, you could. And I say that because I think they'd all have a role. Like Crowder is going to be your punt returner. Zacchaeus playing from scrimmage. De'Ami Brown, they do like him. And I know he didn't do anything last week, but again, I never thought he had this great camp. I thought he had a good camp, right? And I do think he can still help them in some ways. In fact, there were, I think I pointed out the other day, a couple of routes that he was open on that I think with more experience, Jaden Daniels gets him the ball. So, but anyways, I do think that Brown, and like the other thing with De'Ami does play special teams too, and he's pretty good there. And he also can help you as a blocker. Noah Brown can do those as well. So I think, and McCaffrey's always going to be active, and obviously Terry. So each of those guys has a role. But I could see Brown being more incorporated because I do think they feel like he can offer them a little bit more than what some of the other guys can as a more consistent, perhaps explosive receiver. And it's funny because it's not like he's not a 4-2 guy or anything like that, but Brown kind of thinks a lot of that stems from his mindset, that like he just the way he plays, that it leads to some of those explosive plays. We'll see. I mean, he's got a little bit more size as well. That always helps. So we'll see when he's active, but I think it's getting close. And as far as Newton goes, I forgot to say that Quinn also felt like he was trending in the right direction with him. So we'll see. I think there's still some way to go.
Hey, it's Bram Weinstein here, voice of the Commanders, and of course, frequent guest of this podcast, The John Keim Report. I wanted to let you all know that my show, which airs at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on ESPN 630, is now exclusively produced by Empire Media, my company, and is going to be distributed through our network. So I'm asking you, please, if you subscribe to this show and love this show, give mine a try as well. Subscribe to the Bram Weinstein Show wherever you get your podcasts, and many of the shows and many of the elements that are in the show will be available on the Empire Media YouTube channel. We're going to talk a ton of Commanders and other DC sports. Check it out.
On Jaden Daniels, some of it was what Quinn talked about. Obviously we know he ran 16 times. They weren't all design runs. one of the things he talks about is remaining a passer. I talked about this the other day, keeping the ball alive. And I felt like that was an issue in 2012 when Robert started running, but he was tucking the ball 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Jaden wasn't doing it quite as much. I also wonder if some of that was, how much of that was related to they're playing man. If you go, you've got the yard. So if you're going to run, you're going to go because you're exhausting your possibilities. But I think what they'd also like to see is maybe in the future, maybe keeping the play alive, stringing it, and see there are a couple of times maybe he could have done that where you keep it alive, maybe you force the defense to make a decision. Now you've got a chance for big play down here. And so look for that to see how he progresses in that area. But I think that's something that any young mobile quarterback will learn. I think like I said, the good thing for Daniels, when he doesn't get those big plays, he's still getting 10, 12, 13, 14 yards on the ground. So it helps the offense move the chains. As he said, move the chains. That's the goal while you are still learning to be a consistent passer in the NFL. So, and then Zach Ertz talked today. And one of the things he said is that he felt like the offense was close. I asked him, well, why do you feel that? What did you see that felt that? He goes, listen, you make those 2 field goals, they would have scored on 5 of 8 possessions. That's pretty good. They would have had 26 points, 5 of 8 possessions. That's a pretty solid day. The 37 was the bigger problem, but the 26 would have been good for most teams in, a lot of years. So, that's not, who knows where it goes, but I think his point was they don't feel like this is far off. And you can credit Daniels for being able to create plays when other things aren't there for helping that as well. And then Jamin Davis, his name came up as well. Now, I think if you watch the game, like there were a couple plays that he made that I really like. There's one where he shoots inside the tackle and makes the tackle. He had a couple of nice times with good penetration in there. He adds a different element at defensive end. He's got some quickness. He's obviously got that quickness to him. And there are going to be times you're going to play him off the ball. The other day, it was almost always, on hands in the dirt, and it made a difference. So I think, it'd be nice to see him get a little bit more. He's not there. He's not going to be a starting end, but he's shown that he can help him there. And the other thing, and talked about this in the summertime, one of the things I really, really respect about Davis is how he embraced this change and also how he's embraced special teams, because he played hard on special teams as well. That stuff gets noticed by the coaches. Now, is that going to make him some all-star and justify the 19th pick? No, but it's going to make him a guy that you appreciate what he's doing to help a team and to, it can help himself if it hits, but it's also really he could have fought that and said, well, I don't want to do that. Just trade me or release me, whatever. But he's embraced his role. That's a good thing for a guy like Davis. So, you may not care about that, but I think that's good because not every pro is going to take that same approach. Trust me. And then the other thing one of the things that I found interesting that Nikki Javala asked Quinn about Austin Eckler. And one of the things on that 22-yard catch, and Dan Quinn talked about, some of the little veteran things that he can do. One of them was taking a hitch step on that play. So if you watched it, he catches the ball. There's 2 defenders kind of splitting 2 defenders. They're both about 5 yards off, but he catches the ball. As he catches it, his foot is dropping. If you're a basketball fan, it's basically he almost took a drop step, but it put him in position to gain yards after the catch because he turns and he picks up 22 yards. He breaks the tackle, but he broke the tackle because there was space there. There was space there because of the footwork he took to get that extra space. And again, it starts with Quinn called it a hitch. I would call it, just like for visual purposes, a drop step in basketball. Get it, turn, now you're getting upfield. So it's a veteran savvy move, but I think it was a pretty good one. I think it's a pretty cool thing to point out. I love those little details because those little details add up to big games like that 22-yarder. So, and then on Jaden Daniels, he's talked. One thing that Daniels is really good with the media, and it's not that he always says stuff. He doesn't, but I think he's very mature with his comments. He's not going to ever throw anybody on the bus. He's not going to say, well, if the line does their job and I do my job, he's not going to say that. And, even on the Luke McCaffrey, the failed throwback, that play is there. There's a wall there. I forgot to mention this on the review the other day, but there's a wall there. If McCaffrey throws it, Daniels is going to run for a while. For whatever reason, he didn't throw. But the one thing that I appreciate with Daniels, because he was asked about it, he could have said, oh, man, I don't know why I didn't throw it. He's just like, hey, I trust what he sees. I trust him. I trust what he sees for whatever, because he's a quarterback. They know, like sometimes it's easy to sit there and say, I can sit there and say, hey, this guy's open. Well, maybe you see something in the game that you don't realize until, right? You may see something that just doesn't feel right. So for whatever reason, but instead of saying like, oh yeah, you should have thrown that, I could have had 6. It was, I trust what he sees, goes, hey, it's 2 rookies still learning. I really respect that kind of approach because I think it's a good one, but it's why I think, if you go out there and start saying, pointing at fingers, then it doesn't go over well in the locker room. Comments like that and taking responsibility, which is what he does, then I think that's obviously a really good thing. I appreciate that response. And the other thing you talked about on the big plays and having to remain patient, goes, hey, it's going to come, but you do have to remain patient. You can't force them. They will come. But you've got, I think even Sunday, I'm going to bet the Giants are going to do a lot of stuff to keep it in front of him, force him, see how patient he can become. But the fact that he's aware of that, I think is a good thing. He's a guy that's used to making big plays. And, you do wonder, there are a lot of defenses out there that with those cover 2s or split safety, whatever, that they're going to force you to be patient and drive. The best quarterbacks that I've seen are able to, hey, take it, take the profit, take the profit. Then they got to start coming up. If you're hurting them, now you can go. So anyways, I think he understands that, but it's so, there you go. That's my report for Wednesday. And I'll talk to you on Friday morning. I'll be back with ESPN's Jordan Raanan. I'll be back on Saturday with myself. I'll talk to you next time.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.